Hello, everyone. This is Alison. I am the Student Recruitment Manager on the digital for Victoria University. And today we are in our Agent Week celebrating our block model. And I have really a special guest who will be talking about all the benefits that this model has for our students and the professional development for them. The first guest is the Professor Andrew Smallright.
Thank you very much, Alison. So my name's Andrew Smallridge, and I'm the Dean of the First Year College here at Victoria University. So Victoria University is the only university in Australia that actually has a first year college dedicated to introducing all first year students coming into the bachelor's program into the university environment. We have a dedicated team to make that transition as smooth as possible, because we're well aware how difficult that first year at university is, particularly for international students who are obviously coming into a strange country, as well as trying to transition into a university program. So that's the aim that we have and what we do here at Victoria University.
And it is also joining us Dr. Kandakar Ahmed.
Thank you, Alison, for inviting me here. Dr. Kandakar Ahmed, a senior lecturer with discipline of IT in College of Engineering and Science, as you mentioned. I have the privilege and opportunity to get involved with the block mode from the beginning in terms of different unit development and the course, transitioning a course from traditional semester mode to block mode. I also teach cybersecurity units in both undergraduate and postgraduate level. And along with that, I also do a bit of research with a group called Intelligent Technology Innovation Lab, sits within College of Engineering and Science in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity areas. Thank you.
And then we also have Ali, who is one of our current students of the Master of Teaching, but also one of our student ambassadors. So hello, Ali.
Hi, Alison. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today with all of you.
Thank you, Ali. So let's start with the block model and all the good information we have about that. So Dr. Andrew, Professor Andrew, I would like to know a little bit about what is the block model for you, and since you are one of the pioneers, how was that developed?
Well, I think that what we set out to do was to find a better way to teach students. So we know that university is a difficult transition, as I said. And so we looked at a better way to teach our students. And it's time that universities changed. And we thought we'd be the leaders in this and start a revolution and change the way in which we teach. So we introduced the block model. And the beauty of the block model is that students are able to focus on one subject at a time. So instead of doing multiple subjects across a semester, the students are able to do one subject at a time over a short period. So at undergraduate, it's generally 4-week period and you do one subject. And what that means is that you can focus very closely. You lose all the competing assessment tasks, the competing demands on your time from study, and you can focus on one thing. But we also then changed the way in which we teach. So we don't have large lectures anymore where, especially as an international student, you can come and get lost quite easily in a very large lecture theatre. And it becomes very difficult to make friends and to meet people. So we operate in very small class sizes, somewhere between 30 and 35 students, and you sit with those same students and one academic a number of times a week, up to 3 at the undergraduate level. And so what that means is within that first week or so, you've started to form some friends. And we know that forming a connection to your fellow students and to the staff is the easiest way to get students into universities and to understand and feel comfortable. And so the block model's got lots of different things going for it, but the ability to get students engaged early, to make friends, to connect with their staff, all of those things makes your studying easier because it takes a lot of worry out of your entry into the university. So it's a different way of teaching. It's not lectures, it's small class sizes. And what we found is that it makes a significant difference to our students' success and their sense of belonging and feeling of comfort within the university environment. So that's a bit of an overview for you.
We've been teaching the same way for hundreds of years now, but the world around us has changed, and along with it, employer and industry needs. So at VU, we change the way you learn with our Australian-first VU block model. Traditionally, you'd juggle the demands and deadlines of 4 units at once. Instead, the VU block model has you focus on 1 unit at a time. Each semester will be broken into 4 blocks, which run for 4 weeks. You focus on 1 unit in each block, completing all your assessments before moving on to the next. So instead of this, the VU block model looks like this. Students have greater focus learning 1 thing at a time, studying in smaller, more collaborative classes. The students only attend class 3 days per week, so you can still focus on other activities in your life. With the introduction of the block model, student success is soaring, with a pass rate of over 90% for undergraduate students and more than 60% receiving grades at distinction level or above. VU students are also more engaged and satisfied with their uni experience. Employers have also noticed the difference, ranking VU #1 in Australia for employability. So when you study under the VU block model, you know it's proven to give you the support and skills you need to succeed, not only in your studies, but in your career.
Dr. Kandakar, from your perspective as a lecturer, what is the block model?
Right. So maybe I more explicitly give an example of a unit that I used to teach. So I used to teach, or I teach normally, an IT 2102 Cybersecurity Essential, a unit which is a unit from a graduate course. So what happened, we have an undergraduate course and it has 2 majors. But since it is a graduate course, so all major students do this unit. So it is a large number of students usually do this unit, mostly 100 plus. At one instance, I took this course when it had 120 plus students. So in traditional semester mode, what used to happen, I used to go to the lecture theater, full of students. I used to deliver a 2 hours lecture, leave the lecture theater, and then they were divided into 4 or 5 lab sessions, and different lab teachers were taking those lab sessions. So interestingly, I don't know any of the students very personalized way, who they are, how they are, what is their strength, what is their weakness. And since I was not taking the lab, or sometimes if I take any lab, maybe I can take only 1 lab session. So I don't know 80% of the students at all. And in the lecture, it was a very one-way mode. I deliver something, I speak, I deliver the content, and I leave. So at the end of the semester, when the result turns out, I mean, I'm not sure actually who gets what, and I mean, how they were treated or how they were delivered the content. And for example, when I look at the SET or SEU, the students also giving feedback, not for me, but also there are a few lab tutors, and the lab tutors and lecture all are maybe not consistent. In the block mode, what happened, we not only actually changed the way of delivering it, but the university has taken a courage and a big change of all the content were redesigned, redeveloped. And to bring the consistency, how they will be delivered, we have a certain set of way how they will be delivered. Now, the same unit, when I will start delivering in the block mode, so I go to the class, let's say I teach a block 1, and I have 30 students. So every student now I know, because I spend 4 hours time with them, okay? And the 3 hours, the lecture is not like one way, it's more like an interactive. So we talk about a certain topic, and we give them a small problem to solve or to discuss in a small group, and they discuss and they talk. And since IT has a lot of lab applied or lab or problem solving experiment to do in the lab time, I got the time to spend time with them, sitting next to them, understand. And basically, after 2-3 sessions, actually, I know every single student, their strength and their weakness. And that is from my perspective. From students' perspective, also, they can communicate with me very well and they know each other. So that's the sort of like in a 1 month through 11 session in undergrad, if I say in 1 month, and if postgrad, it is 8 weeks block. So they actually, students and teachers, they all have a very good engaging and interactive opportunity they get, and eventually a good teaching or learning experience happen.
Yeah, that's fantastic and really a huge difference. If you want to please give us some insight. Yeah, Professor Andrew.
Yeah, sure. So at the undergraduate level, if you're coming in as an undergraduate student, then you take one subject at a time every 4 weeks. And that really is the best way to enable students to do and enter into the university. So every 4 weeks, you do a subject, you complete all of the learning tasks, all of the assessment in that 4 weeks. And at the end of the 4 weeks, you then get your final grade and you move on to your next subject. And you will take 8 subjects in a year in 8 4-week blocks. At the postgraduate level, then there is a mix. Some postgraduate courses use that 4 weeks, one at a time model. And some subjects, like the IT postgraduate course that Dr. Kandekar was talking about, they have an 8-week model where a student can take one subject every 8 weeks, or they can take 2 in that 8-week period. And that's designed for some flexibility, particularly at that master's level, where the students have different demands and different needs from both an educational and a personal perspective. So it depends on whether it's undergraduate or postgraduate, whether the bachelor or the master's program.
Perfect. Thank you, Professor Andrew. And now I want to hear from Ali. I have a question for you about your perspective on what are the benefits of the block model.
So I would say at first, the block model is a little bit, I feel a bit overwhelming. But then when I start and know how to deal with the block model, I feel it's much more easier than the normal one. It is because that I only focus on one unit at a time, which is like one unit will be finished in 3 to 4 weeks. And then after that, you will focus on another unit. And I can say that in one semester, you still finish 4 units, but you don't do 4 units at a time. So that's how you can just it's intense study, and you can study and totally focus on one unit. And that's why my grade is like very high. I got all high distinctions for the last semester.
In the benefits that the block model has demonstrated for students, maybe Dr. Kandekar, can you please give us a little bit of information about the benefits that you see?
All right, so actually block model enabled some of the benefits were foreseen when the block model was being designed, but after block model started, few other things that we saw that it enabled. So one obvious thing that happened is attendance rate. Very interestingly, in the traditional semester mode, for example, lecture theater, first session started 60-70% attendance, second session 50%. And gradually it comes down to whenever you have a class of over 100 plus and you are taking lecture in theater, the attendance used to drop down to 50% or less than 50%. But in block mode, almost out of 30 students, you can see that 26, 27 students attend the class, even in the 8 a.m. in the morning. So that's a fantastic, significant change. Now, when attendance turn up means what? They're attending all the sessions, they're attending all the labs, and they're attending all the assessment. The second thing was assessments. Earlier assessments was a very much 2 or 3 assessments, and all the weight was given on those 2 assessments. But in block mode, the assessment has been distributed. So students do a lot of small tasks, and in-class assessment, in the class, they get the feedback, and they get the progressive feedback and mark and their grades. So that's actually also helped them to understand from the beginning, to trace how they are going. So these two things actually give the, looking at the direct outcome is pass rate. We saw significantly pass rate increased, all right? And also grade distribution also gets better, more HDs comes. But the most good thing I looked at is the pass rate. The pass rate increased significantly. And the reason is very clear, because attendance is high, very high engaging class, all the assessments they are participating, and they can ask the question, personalized question to their teacher. So definitely the pass rate increase. But another thing that happens actually, you know, let's say a class of 120, now in the block mode is a 4 blocks. So in the semester, the same unit is offered in the multiple times. Therefore, the prerequisite constraint or students' choice to take this unit in block 1, that unit in block 3. So a lot of choices, flexibility also comes in block mode due to multiple blocks is available now in one semester.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Khandekar, and that's awesome.
I would like to add something here. So in 2020, when the pandemic comes in, you know, we had to go to the you know, ORT, or we need to go to the remote delivery, right? Online remote delivery. And VU did it in 1 week time. Majority universities also did. But if you look at the 2020 student survey, VU's survey comes very impressive. One of the reasons is in 2020, when everybody goes into the remote delivery, in the traditional semester mode, a lecture you cannot deliver in an engaging and focused way in a Zoom. But in VU, what happened, we were very much ready, because due to the block mode, we have a small class already designed in a way. So basically for us, it's just the classroom changed. Physical classroom goes to the virtual classroom. But all of our classes were still very interactive and face-to-face. We had no recorded lecture. Our online does not mean that the recorded lecture was given and students just watch the recorded lecture. For us, it was still face-to-face class in Zoom. And that 4-hour session was very interactive. So I give you an example in my class, the same cybersecurity essentials. In the lab time, I still spend time sitting close to the students. How? When they were doing the lab, if a student faced any problem, they give me remote access through Zoom to their computer. And just like the way physical class, I used to go sit next to them and help them, the same way I help in his computer. The advantage was now, last time in physical class, when I used to go to a student, sit next to him and solve his problem, only he can see. Now in Zoom, all other 29 students also can see that I'm solving his problem and how solving his problem. So it actually makes more interactive. So that our block mode design was sort of pretty much ready. And when we go to this remote delivery, I think one of the most successful remote delivery VU has compared to other universities.
Yeah, I completely agree. Professor Andrew, do you want to add a little bit more about the benefits comparing the block model with the traditional model that more of the students are used to studying?
Yeah, certainly. I think you've covered very nicely the academic benefits, but one benefit is there's a well-being benefit. And we've really seen a drop-off in students struggling from a health perspective, particularly from stress and anxiety, because you no longer have 4 assignments all due in at the same time, and you've got to work out which one do I prioritize. And so you might be applying for some help or delay or extension, and that doesn't happen because you've only got one. It's the same with the end of year exam period. You used to have exams at the end of the semester or the end of the year, and you might end up with 4 exams in 3 days, and you're trying to study for all of those at once. And that adds a lot of stress and anxiety to our students. And what we found is that having just one thing to focus on, it takes all of those clashes out, and it means that the students are not suffering from the levels of stress and anxiety that we've seen in the past. And it's difficult enough being at university. As an international student in a different country, But to be able to remove that level of stress and anxiety that comes with having multiple conflicting assessments due at the same time, we've seen a significant benefit in the health of our students through many, many less students applying for extensions or help in this way. And I think that's been a benefit that's over and above the academic benefits that we've already talked about here. And I think that's been a real benefit for all of our students.
Definitely, Professor Andrew. I think that is a really good point and something that many institutions take for granted, but definitely Victoria University care about the students and how they achieve, but also on their well-being. So yeah, definitely a really good point. Ali, I also want to ask you, have you studied with the traditional model of normal university education, and how do you compare that model with the current studies that you are doing at BU in the block model?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so for the traditional study model, of course you study 4 units at a time in a semester, and like the assignment of 4 units gonna always like do nearly at the same time. So it's very hard for me to balance on the study and do assignments. But you will have more time to do reading and a lot of research, because you have like quite a lot, like 3 months for a unit. But for me, the block model is better. It's because, like as I told you before, I mentioned before, like you just focus on 1 unit. So I spend whole of my time to read anything relating to the unit. So it's very good for me to do the assignments. That's why I can, and most of the time, I don't have to ask for extensions. It's because like I can arrange my time, like to focus on doing it and I finish it on time. And I want to share one more thing, how the block model gonna be good for you if you know how to use the VU Collaborate. Because as a student, it's a bit overwhelming at the first, because a unit finishes in 3 weeks. But if you go to Collaborate, and then you're gonna check the learning sites, they're gonna have weeks by weeks, and then they have the week, the session 1, session 2, and then when you look into it, you will know what you have to do before class, during the class, and after class. But just follow exactly like that. It's like a guideline for you a guidance for you to do or during your study. So I think it's very nice and good and convenient for students. So just follow.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's a good way to organize yourself, having some guidance on the process. I'm gonna ask you one other thing, and it's about your future. How do you see that Victoria University and the block model are helping you to perform better, to get better results and outcomes once you finish your degree and you start on the workforce?
You mean how can the block model help me in the future with my career? Yeah, I think one of the things that a block model would help me is that how I can deal with a lot of information at a time. I mean, information overload is a little bit information overload, because like 1 unit, 3 weeks. So I know how to manage, how to finish reading, what to research, what should focus on, what like prioritize. And then also like, let me think. Of course, for time management, and then also like for things communication skill. It's because like I have to communicate talk to my lecturer a lot, and also as my friends, my classmates, to talk about the assignments and everything. So I think it's going to help for my future career with time management and communication skill.
Thank you, Ali. Yeah, I think we have covered most of the strong points that the block model definitely has. I know Victoria University has been ranked the first in employability skills in Australia. So I would like to ask you, how do you think the model contributes to that achievement and the students to be more successful on their careers later on in the future?
Yeah, certainly. And I think that if you look at the way work is happening these days in the 21st century, there's a lot of emphasis on working together, working collaboratively, having small-term projects that you work on as a team. And one of the things that we found is that's exactly what we model in the block model. You do a lot of collaborative work. You're expected to work as a team. You have very tight deadlines. And so this does actually prepare students for work post-graduation. And this is something that has been discovered by other universities around the world who use the block model, is that their students are prepared for work because so much of what we do models the sorts of things that they will be expected to do when they're out in the workforce. So it's also a great preparation from that perspective. And we've had some terrific feedback, as you said, from employers who say that this really does prepare our students for the world of work post-graduation.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Andrew. That really is a good point, because of most of the jobs nowadays are basically projects, and then having one lecture or one unit at the same time, it can help you to put priorities, but also to focus on a specific task and get things done pretty quick, which is kind of what the workforce is demanding at this moment. So yeah, anything else to add, Dr. Kandakar?
I just would like to emphasize the same that Professor Andrew mentioned. Just imagine in the traditional semester mode, as I said, in the large class, often it used to happen that many students are shy, or they don't want to talk. They don't want to work in a team. So they used to, they have opportunity to sit in the back or keep quiet. They may be very good. They have talent. They have very good. They reflect that talent in their writing. But when it comes to the teamwork, when it comes to the collaborative work, when it comes to the communication skill, and we all know that in this time, how good the communication, how important the communication skill is. People now say that many of these skills are being automated. So the people who will be able to successful, who has a very good communication skill. The communication skill does not just mean language. It means how I can work with the team, how I can resolve the conflict, how I can share the knowledge. And in block mode, basically in the unit, throughout from beginning to the end of the session, they practice this. All right. There is no way to escape. I don't want to collaborate. I don't want to engage. You have to. The system force. So these are the soft skills, or very important skills that industry looks for. And I think block mode, by default, this is doing this. It is helping students to develop these skills.
That is impressive. When I talk with agents and students about the block model, it is important to mention so many benefits that the block model provides in so many different ways. We are the only university sharing openly the pass rates and grades that our students achieve. And that is because we are pretty proud of that, but also because of so many advantages that are provided to students. Professor Andrew, I will start closing this conversation by asking you, why would you recommend to international students coming from different countries, from different communities, from different backgrounds, and sometimes even by themselves here in Australia, to choose BU? Why do you think BU is different?
Well, I guess I would say that whilst lots of places say they put the students first, Victoria University has actually demonstrated that. So we have changed every single aspect of the university, from the way we teach to the way we run the university, to a model that truly puts the student first. Everything we do, as Dr. Kandakar has said, it's about engaging with the students. It's about putting their learning first. It's about making them the focus of everything we do. And I think that's why I would say come to Victoria University, because we've got that demonstrated commitment to putting the student first and to looking after them and making sure that they achieve the potential that they have. And whilst other universities might say that, we've actually gone and demonstrated that we do this through our block model. And I think that's why it puts Victoria University in a different position, and why I think it will benefit all students to come to Victoria University.
Yeah, that's completely right. And even some institutions are now trying to implement the same model because they have been how successful we are with this and how, all the achievements that our students are getting from the block model. Dr. Kandakar, any other thing what you would recommend students to come and join Victoria University?
So just probably a couple of the things I would like to tell about for international students from my perspective, because in 2009, first time I went to UK to pursue my master's degree. And I still remember, so it was, as usual, big class, and for international students, the lot of barrier, big cultural difference, right? Cultural difference in a sense, food, accommodation, language, way of talking, jokes are even different. I don't even understand the jokes, okay? Many different things. So it's very easy you get lost when you're in a big classroom. So what happened, it took me complete one semester for me to come in the radar of my teachers. So in the first semester, all 4 subjects, it was a postgraduate level. So a lot of, all of the assessments were assignment based and team based. And I was not the team leader of any of the team, because probably my teacher by default considered that, they don't know about me, right? And I'm not speaking, or I was not talking at that time because I was shy. So the system was such that I get lost. And to come to the focus of my teachers, it took time. It took 1 or 2 project assignment and demonstration where I go and demonstrated and got an opportunity to meet them one-to-one. Only then I come to their focus. But in block mode, that's the opportunity. And international students does not have that issue, or they are not at risk of getting lost, right? So they will be, from the beginning, they will be engaged and incorporated into that small classroom, engaging with the students as well as with the teacher. So I think, challenges obviously are always there, but a block mode will make the journey a little bit easy and smooth for international students.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And lastly, Ali, is there anything else that you want to comment or share with every agent and student that are watching out there and using this video to take a decision on coming and join Victoria University?
Of course, Victoria University have very good reputations, but also like the tuition fee, and also they're applying the block models. That's very good for international students, like they can focus on it and they can have a better result. So there's no reason why you should not choose Victoria University.
So I think we have mentioned most of the things. We would love to have hours, and we can talk about a block model for hours, I believe, and all the benefits that it has for students, for the environment, for the well-being, for the successful development in the future, but also on employability skills and really good grades and all the things that are involved in the block model. I would like to thank you all, Dr. Kandakar, Professor Andrew, Ali, for being here and sharing your experience and different points of view and perspectives about how the block model works in reality. Thank you so much for joining us today.